What if I told you? The Jedi you know from the movies, the stoic guardians of peace, the wise keepers of the Force, are only one version of the truth. What if their history, the one we've been shown for decades, was carefully curated and in some cases, deliberately edited? The Star Wars galaxy is ancient. Entire civilizations have risen and fallen long before the Republic. And for centuries, maybe millennia, a hidden Jedi Order existed. One so secret, so removed from the politics of Coruscant, that even the Jedi Council didn't speak their name. These were not the Jedi of the Clone Wars. They weren't peacekeepers in shining robes or generals on the battlefield. They were guardians of knowledge, keepers of truth so dangerous, the galaxy couldn't handle them. They walked a different path, one that the modern Jedi would call unconventional, maybe even heretical. Imagine this. While Yoda and Mace Windu sat in the council chamber debating Senate resolutions, this hidden order operated in the shadows of the unknown regions. They traveled to worlds the Republic had never mapped, following whispers in the Force that led them to relics from before recorded history. They didn't just learn the ways of the Jedi, they learned everything. The light, the dark, the balance in between. And that's where the story gets dangerous. Because knowledge like that changes the game. It changes the way you see the Force, the way you understand the galaxy, the way you see the Jedi themselves. You see, the Jedi we know, Obi-Wan, Anakin, Ahsoka, they were trained in a system that prized obedience. The Council gave orders. The Padawan followed. That's how it had been for generations. But the Forgotten Order didn't answer to a council. They answered to the Force itself. They believed the living Force, not the will of the Republic, should guide their actions. This made them unpredictable, dangerous even. To some in the modern Jedi Order, they were a myth. To others, a threat. And if the stories are true, the Council didn't just forget them. They erased them. So, what were they guarding? Why go to all this trouble to hide their existence? The Whispers say they knew about the first war between light and dark, long before the Sith were even called Sith. They knew the original code, not the Jedi code we know today, but something older, more primal. They had holocrons containing visions of the galaxy's future, visions that, if shared, might have changed the Clone Wars before they began. Some claim they even understood the true nature of the Force, not as two opposing sides, light and dark, but as a single living energy with infinite shades. A truth that would have made the Jedi's black and white view of the world obsolete. Now, you might be thinking, if they were so important, why haven't we seen them in the movies? Why hasn't the canon shown them? And that's exactly the point. They've been left in the margins, hidden in bits of ancient text, obscure references in the Clone Wars, or buried deep in the expanded universe. You've probably brushed past their shadow without even realizing it. Remember when Luke Skywalker went searching for the first Jedi temple? That wasn't just nostalgia. That was a breadcrumb. Remember in Rebels, when the Loth Wolves spoke of ancient truths and hidden knowledge? Another breadcrumb. The Force leaves clues for those willing to see them. The truth is, if this forgotten Jedi Order still exists, if even a fragment of them survived, Order 66, they could hold answers the galaxy desperately needs. Answers about the balance of the Force. Answers about how to resist the rise of darkness without falling into it yourself. And here's the wild part, there's evidence, subtle, easy to miss, that they've been moving pieces on the board this whole time. Helping certain people survive, guiding events in ways that never make it into the official records. Some fans believe Qui-Gon Jinn was influenced by their teachings. Others say they trained Jedi long before the Old Republic, and those Jedi's descendants are still out there. Picture their training, not in a temple surrounded by towering skyscrapers, but on remote, forgotten worlds. A Padawan's first trial wasn't blocking blaster bolts. It was surviving the frozen storms of a nameless planet to retrieve a crystal that called to them through the Force. Their lightsabers? Not standardized. Each one was built with knowledge of the planet it came from, tuned not just to the wielder's connection to the Force, but to the living energy of the world itself. And their philosophy. The galaxy was not to be ruled or even protected in the way the Republic demanded. It was to be understood, to walk among its people, learn from them, and guard the secrets that could destroy them if they fell into the wrong hands. Now, why does this matter to you, sitting there watching this video? Because if these Jedi existed, and if they still exist, then the Star Wars galaxy is bigger, older, and more mysterious than we've ever been told. Every story we've seen so far, from the Phantom Menace to the Rise of Skywalker, might just be one chapter in a much larger saga. Think about it. Think about it. No way, Lee as, if the Council hid them, what else did they hide? What else is out there in the shadows, waiting to be discovered? And if these hidden Jedi hold the key to true balance in the Force, maybe the fight between light and dark we've been watching all these years is just the warm-up. In this video, we're going to dive deep into what we know, what we think we know, and what we've only begun to imagine about the Forgotten Jedi Order. We'll pull together the fragments from Canon, the hints from legends, and the fan theories that connect the dots. Because if you think you know the Jedi, it's time to think again. We've been told the Jedi began on Coruscant, that they've always been the Republic's noble guardians. That's the version the holobooks give you, the one the Council once remembered. Oh! But what if that's only half the story? What if, before there was even a galactic senate, before the shining spires of Coruscant, there was an older, stranger Jedi Order, one that didn't answer to politicians or even to the Council? Hidden in the margins of ancient scrolls and long-forgotten archives are whispers, references to Jedi who walked the galaxy when the Republic was just a dream. Jedi who came from worlds far beyond the Republic's reach. Their records gone. Their temples buried or destroyed. And the deeper you dig, the more deliberate that disappearance feels. Imagine it. Thousands of years before the Old Republic, the galaxy was still fractured. Star systems rose and fell without ever hearing the word Jedi. Yet, in scattered places, Force sensitives gathered. They weren't organized by the Council. They weren't limited by a code. They were seekers, wandering philosophers, warriors, healers, each interpreting the Force in their own way. Some of the oldest myths in the unknown regions speak of sky blades, warriors who could call lightning from the heavens and cut through stone with weapons of pure light. These weren't lightsabers as we know them. They were unstable, primal tools forged from whatever crystals the wielder could find. And their bearers didn't see themselves as light side or dark side. To them, the Force wasn't a moral choice. It was a current, a tide you learned to ride. Holocrons from that era, rare, damaged, and mostly locked, describe a first gathering where these early Force adepts came together on a remote, nameless world. They shared techniques, argued philosophies, and in some cases, fought to the death over what the Force truly was. And if the dates are right, all of this happened long before Coruscant even knew what a Jedi was. So why erase this part of history? One theory says the early Jedi were too fragmented, too unpredictable. They couldn't be controlled by a central authority, so when the Republic finally did rise and the Jedi Order aligned with it, these older traditions became inconvenient. Their teachings didn't fit the Republic's vision of peace and order. Another theory is darker. Some believe the early Jedi knew things, dangerous things about the Force, that the later Order decided were too risky to share. Secrets about balance, about immortality, about bending the Force in ways modern Jedi would call unnatural. If that knowledge survived, it could shatter everything the Council stood for. And yet, traces remain. The Jedi Temple on Coruscant, built over the ruins of something older, something the Jedi claimed to purify when they took the land. The stone carvings in its lowest chambers don't match any known Republic architecture. Some even depict robed figures standing beside, non-humanoids. As if the early Jedi weren't just human or Twi'lek or Togruta, but an entirely different mix of species we've never seen since. Even the Jedi Code may not be original. Linguists who've studied pre-Republic inscriptions found fragments of a mantra similar but not identical to "There is no emotion, there is peace." There is emotion, and through it, peace. Subtle, but very different. Every once in a while, the galaxy reminds us these roots aren't gone. When Luke Skywalker went searching for the first Jedi Temple, he wasn't retracing Republic history. He was chasing the whispers of this older era. And when Ahsoka Tano speaks of the Force outside the dogma of the Jedi, you can hear echoes of something ancient in her words. What if the so-called lost Jedi never truly vanished? What if they simply went deep into hiding, beyond the Republic's borders, into the unknown regions, waiting for the galaxy to be ready for their truth again? Think about it. Every time we've been told the Jedi are the galaxy's first and only guardians, someone was deciding what version of history we got to hear. Someone chose the official beginning. But beginnings are tricky things. They change depending on who's telling the story. And here's the question we have to ask ourselves. If this older order really existed, and if they left behind knowledge powerful enough to reshape our understanding of the Force, what happens if that knowledge comes back? Would it save the galaxy, or destroy it? In the end, the Republic's history books may tell you the Jedi began in shining temples under Coruscant's endless skies. But the truth might lie in dusty ruins, in sealed holocrons, in half-forgotten myths whispered on worlds no hyperspace lane can reach. This is the veiled beginning, and we've only just started pulling back the curtain. You ever hear the phrase, "Lost 20, and wonder who they were? No. Well, buckle up, because this is where things start to get interesting. See, the Jedi Order, you know? The Council on Coruscant, the rigid rules, the training schedules, that's just one branch of a much bigger, much older tree. Long before even the old Republic codified what it meant to be Jedi, there were others. Some of them followed the path we recognize, sure, but others, they walked away. They left the temple. They left the Order. And the galaxy doesn't really talk about them. These are the so-called Lost 20, early Jedi who didn't vanish. They chose to carve a new path. Why? Well, the answer isn't clear, and that's the fascinating part. Maybe they saw flaws in the Order. Maybe they were restless, curious, unwilling to be boxed into doctrine. Or maybe, just maybe, they heard the Force differently than anyone else. That's right, unique philosophies of the Force, developed outside the rigid dogma of the Temple, in isolation. Some legends say they settled on distant worlds, hidden away, creating enclaves where their teachings could evolve freely. Picture it, Jedi. On worlds untouched by politics, free to explore the Force in ways that would make a council member faint. Some may have embraced meditation so deep it altered perception of time itself. Others experimented with powers that were frowned upon or forbidden by the mainstream order. They weren't dark side users necessarily, but they were unconventional. Think of it as a laboratory of the Force, each practitioner testing the boundaries of what was possible outside the watchful eyes of the Council. And here's where it gets really cool. If you pay attention to the subtle hints sprinkled throughout Star Wars media, the ancient temples on remote planets, cryptic writings in old archives, even the strange Force phenomena that pop up from time to time, they could be traces of these enclaves. The Lost 20 might not be completely gone. Their influence could linger, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone perceptive enough to notice. Maybe a Jedi stumbles across a relic, or a Force-sensitive explorer senses a resonance that doesn't fit anywhere in known history. That's when the veil lifts, just a little, and the idea that the Jedi weren't a single monolithic order starts to make sense. Isolation has a funny way of shaping philosophy. When you're alone or with a small group, you develop ideas that are immune to mainstream critique. The Lost 20 may have cultivated Force techniques that would have shocked the Council. Perhaps they could sense life in ways we can barely imagine, or manipulate aspects of the Force that modern Jedi don't dare touch. Their writings, if any survive, are cryptic, metaphorical, sometimes maddeningly vague. But for someone willing to dig, willing to read between the lines, you might just find the seeds of a completely different understanding of the Force. It's not just academic curiosity either. These lost teachings could change how we see the galaxy. A philosophy that emphasizes balance in a way the Council never did, or one that blends what we call the light and dark sides into something entirely new. Imagine Jedi who don't categorize the Force as light or dark, but as a spectrum, a flow that guides choices instead of judging them. That kind of thinking could revolutionize how Force users interact with the galaxy, and maybe even with each other. Of course, there's danger here too. Isolation breeds secrecy, and secrecy can breed corruption. Some enclaves may have twisted their teachings, believing themselves superior or worse, manipulating the Force for personal gain. Others may have simply faded into myth, leaving only the faintest echo of their presence. And yet, even in the shadows of legend, the idea persists. The Force is bigger than the Jedi we know. Its history is not a straight line, it's a tapestry of paths, some bright, some obscure, some hidden entirely. So the next time you're exploring a forgotten world or studying an ancient text that seems off, don't dismiss it. Ask yourself, could this be a trace of those early Jedi who refused to be constrained? Could this be a whisper from the Lost 20, reminding us that the Force is bigger, older, and stranger than we've been taught? History is never fully written, and the galaxy still holds mysteries that the Order may never have wanted you to find. And maybe that's the point. The Lost 20 weren't just leaving the Order behind. They were leaving a legacy, one that challenges perception, encourages exploration, and reminds us that understanding the Force is never a matter of following rules. It's a matter of listening, observing, and daring to look where others fear to go. Because the deeper you delve, the more you realize that Jedi we know are only half the story. The rest, the hidden, the unconventional, the whispers of the deep core might just change everything we thought we understood about the galaxy and the Force itself. You know those stories about holocrons, the Jedi archives, and all that official stuff? Well, what if I told you that the official archives are only part of the story? That there are holocrons so rare, so unique, that most Jedi never even hear about them, and the ones who do often don't live to tell the tale? Yeah, we're talking about the kind of artifacts that hold knowledge beyond what the Council wants you to know. Secrets of the Force, interpretations of the galaxy, methods that challenge everything the Order teaches. These aren't just storage devices, they're puzzles, cryptic, layered, sometimes maddeningly difficult to decipher. And they're designed that way for a reason. Imagine a holocron that doesn't just tell you about meditating or lightsaber forms, but about approaches to the Force that question the very dichotomy of light and dark. They're like whispers from a time when Jedi, or maybe even Jedi, like figures experimented, explored, and recorded knowledge that the mainstream Order either dismissed or feared. Now, think about the implications. If a Jedi gets their hands on one of these rare holocrons, they're immediately faced with a choice. Do you follow the rules and leave it alone, as countless others have done? Or do you try to unravel it? And if you do you share it or keep it secret, knowing the Council might consider it dangerous? Some holocrons aren't just educational, they're morally complicated. They teach, but they also tempt. Power, insight, techniques. Some of it might change you, maybe even corrupt you if you're not careful. These holocrons don't speak plainly. They test your patience, your wisdom, your moral compass. You don't just open one and read it like a book. No, you solve it. You meditate on it, feel the Force in a way that's different. The messages are often layered in riddles, symbols, and sometimes even warnings. One misstep, and the lesson can be lost, or worse, misinterpreted. It's not just about gaining knowledge, it's about understanding the Force in a way that few Jedi have ever truly grasped. And here's something most people don't realize. Some of these holocrons date back to Jedi Orders that existed before Coruscant even became the center of galactic politics. They were guardians of knowledge, yes, but also of restraint. They understood that wisdom can be dangerous, that some truths might lead to ruin if wielded improperly. So they left clues, not answers, challenges, not instructions. And that's what makes them so compelling and terrifying. For the Jedi who stumble upon these artifacts, there's always an ethical dilemma. Do you explore the knowledge, risking your own fallibility? Do you try to control the information, or let others seek it for themselves? And what about the Force itself? These holocrons hint at applications of the Force that are unconventional. Healing beyond known methods, sensing faraway disturbances, even influencing minds in ways that feel morally gray. The line between right and wrong blurs, and that's exactly the point. They're teaching Jedi to think beyond binary notions of light and dark, and that's not something every knight or master is ready for. Yet, despite the dangers, there's a beauty in it. A holocron can feel alive, almost sentient, responding to the Seeker in subtle ways. It's like it knows what you're ready for, what you fear, and what you can handle. Some of the oldest holocrons were said to choose their Jedi, guiding them with riddles that slowly reveal lessons only to the worthy, or perhaps only to the persistent. It's not about instant enlightenment. It's about a journey, a deepening understanding of the Force that goes beyond the dogma and rituals of the temple. And imagine the stories those who succeeded could tell. Not just about the techniques or secrets, but about the courage it took to face them. The Force itself, as these guardians of forbidden knowledge seem to whisper, is not merely a tool or a weapon. It's a living, breathing essence that responds to intent, curiosity, and conscience. Every lesson is layered, every warning deliberate. You can gain incredible insight, but only if you are humble enough to learn and careful enough to avoid the pitfalls. Some of these holocrons were lost, destroyed, or hidden away for centuries. But those that remain, scattered across the galaxy, are like fragments of a forgotten history. They challenge the narrative of the Jedi we know. They remind us that knowledge isn't always comfortable. Sometimes it's dangerous, sometimes it's inconvenient, sometimes it's deliberately withheld. But it's also necessary, because without exploring the edges of understanding, the Force and those who wield it can never truly grow. So next time you hear about a holocron, don't think just of the ones catalogued in the archives. Think of the ones that hide in shadows, coded and complex, holding truths that could change the galaxy if used wisely, or destroy it if abused. That's what the Guardians of Forbidden Knowledge understood, that the Force is more than order, more than rules, more than light or dark. It's a living puzzle, and some puzzles are meant to be unraveled carefully and with respect. You ever wonder what's out there, past the edges of the galaxy we know? I mean, beyond the core worlds, past the outer rim, in those unknown regions that even the Jedi don't fully map. There are whispers, hints of places where the Force behaves differently, where civilizations rose and fell in ways that left echoes no one really understands. And let me tell you, some of the relics and sites we've found there, they're astonishing. Not just old, not just dusty ruins, but remnants of knowledge and power that make even the greatest Jedi archives look tame. Think about it. A planet, half forgotten, covered in strange stone monoliths, etched with symbols that don't match any language we know. Temples, towers, fortresses that seem alive somehow, not just built, but grown in a way that defies conventional architecture. They hum with energy, Force energy, but different, ancient, unpredictable. Even standing near them, you feel it tug at your thoughts, your emotions. Some Jedi have reported visions, memories that aren't theirs, flashes of history from beings long gone. It's like the planet itself remembers, and it wants you to remember too. These aren't the simple meditation chambers or training halls the Jedi are used to. No, the designs suggest philosophies and purposes entirely foreign to our understanding. Some relics seem to amplify the Force in one direction, some seem to suppress it. Weapons, tools, devices that manipulate energy in ways that feel almost magical. And the craziest part? We don't know who built them. Some clues suggest proto-Jedi, or perhaps Force users, who existed before the Order even formalized on Coruscant. Maybe they followed a different path, or maybe they abandoned the dogma entirely. And that's where the danger comes in. These sites, these relics, they don't just sit there politely. Unearthing them can be risky. The Force, when left unchecked, doesn't always play nice. Some artifacts radiate power that can be overwhelming, even corrupting. I've heard stories of explorers who went in seeking knowledge and came out changed, driven by obsession, or visions that left them broken. Some of the relics have defense mechanisms, ancient security systems left by their creators. Traps, not just physical, but mental trials that test your intentions, your character, your very essence in the Force. And it's not just the relics themselves. The sites hold energy fields, pockets of the Force that respond to presence, to thought, to emotion. If a Jedi or anyone enters unprepared, they could inadvertently trigger catastrophic effects. Landslides, energy discharges, hallucinations, even shifts in time perception. One moment you're walking, the next you're experiencing decades of history, lives lived and lost, all compressed into seconds. Imagine trying to navigate that, all while keeping your mind anchored. It's a lot, yet despite the risks, the potential is extraordinary. Knowledge long lost, techniques unheard of, secrets about the Force that might illuminate paths never considered. Some sites appear to contain libraries, holocrons, devices that record the very essence of thought. Not just Force techniques, but philosophies, strategies, observations of the galaxy that could challenge everything we've been taught. There's a reason the Jedi haven't catalogued these fully. These sites are unpredictable, dangerous, and often unreachable. Only the bravest, or perhaps the most foolhardy, dare to explore them. And here's the thing, the architecture itself tells a story. Some ruins suggest a civilization that worshipped the Force in a more symbiotic way, more integrated with the land, with energy flows. Others are militaristic, with layouts designed for strategy and defense, but still reflecting a deep understanding of the Force. Each site is unique, each relic a puzzle, and each discovery forces Jedi scholars to rethink what they know. It's not just archaeology, it's an ethical and spiritual challenge. Do you take these powers, use them, study them? Or do you leave them untouched, respecting the intentions of those who came before? Sometimes, the Force in these regions doesn't answer questions, it asks them. What would you do with this knowledge? Could you resist using it for personal gain? Could you even comprehend the scale of what you're touching? That's why these explorations are as much about self-discovery as they are about discovery of the galaxy. And for every temple explored, for every artifact catalogued, there's a lesson about humility, about patience, about respect for forces larger than any single Jedi. So next time you think about the unknown regions, don't just imagine empty space or uncharted stars. Imagine places humming with ancient power, monuments of civilizations we barely remember, technologies and energies that could change the galaxy or destroy it. These relics are a reminder that the Force is bigger, older, and more mysterious than we can ever fully grasp. And maybe, just maybe, some of those lost secrets are waiting for the right Jedi to find them, to learn, to respect, and to survive the knowledge that's been hidden for millennia. You ever stop and think about how much of Star Wars history we actually know? I mean, really, stop and think about it. The Jedi Order we're familiar with, their teachings, their philosophy, their heroes, that's only part of the picture. What if I told you there's evidence, hints, even whispers, that an entire branch of the Jedi existed long before the Old Republic? Ancient Force users whose deeds, philosophies, and secrets were lost, deliberately erased, or simply forgotten over the millennia. That changes everything. And I mean everything. Imagine it. A Jedi Order that predates Coruscant's central archives, that predates the Republic itself. They may have walked different paths, practiced the Force in ways we can barely comprehend, and left behind relics, writings, or even ruins that still hum with energy today. The things they might have discovered, techniques, philosophies, Force applications, could reshape our understanding of what the Force is and how it connects all living things. What we consider unbreakable rules of the Jedi. Maybe those were just guidelines, maybe even misinterpretations of a far older, richer tradition. And here's where it gets really interesting. Think about all the characters we love in the Star Wars universe, and all the stories we follow. What if some of them are unknowingly walking paths laid out by these ancient Jedi? What if certain abilities, certain instincts, or even destinies trace back to teachings that existed long before the Jedi we know today? I mean, consider the Force visions, the strange premonitions, the skills that appear almost out of nowhere. Could they be echoes of that lost knowledge somehow preserved and passed down in ways we've yet to recognize? This kind of revelation doesn't just rewrite history. It gives us story opportunities too. Entire arcs waiting to be explored. Jedi discovering forgotten temples. Force-sensitive beings unearthing relics of power. Confrontations with philosophies that challenge everything they've been taught. Characters could cross paths with forces older than the Republic, maybe even beings who defy our understanding of the Force itself. You could have lightsabers, yes, but also relics that manipulate energy, that teach new forms of meditation, combat, or connection with life in ways the galaxy has never seen. The storytelling potential is immense, and it's almost tantalizingly within reach if creators choose to explore it. And this isn't just about Jedi and Force users. Think about the galaxy itself. Political systems, the rise and fall of empires, the histories of planets. How much of that was influenced, even subtly, by these forgotten masters? Maybe some of the oldest galactic mysteries, the enigmatic ruins, the hidden planets, the unexplained artifacts, are connected. That's the kind of thing that can reshape the canon, bridge gaps, and provide context for events we've seen but never fully understood. It's a way to deepen the lore, make the universe feel lived in and ancient in a way that resonates with fans of all ages. And let's be honest, there's a lot of untapped intrigue out there. The unknown regions, the deep core, planets and systems rarely referenced in the mainstream stories. Who knows what remnants are waiting there? Could be hidden Jedi temples or relics imbued with the Force in ways that don't even conform to the light or dark. Could be archives containing knowledge that challenges the entire dichotomy we've always relied on. We're talking moral and philosophical dilemmas, mind-bending power, and stories that make you question what you thought you knew about the Force. This is a call to action for creators and fans alike. Don't just stick to the familiar. Look at the gaps, the whispers, the things the galaxy itself seems to hide. Ancient civilizations, Jedi Orders lost to time, Force traditions unrecorded in the archives. All of these are fertile ground for stories that are fresh, compelling, and deeply connected to the core of Star Wars. It's about honoring the past while pushing the narrative forward, showing that the galaxy is vast, mysterious, and full of surprises. So, what does it mean for us as fans? It means every time we watch a Jedi meditate, wield the Force, or stumble across a forgotten ruin, there's more to it than meets the eye. Those moments could be echoes of a lineage that stretches back farther than we can imagine, connecting past and present in ways subtle, profound, and sometimes dangerous. The Force, in that sense, is not just a tool or a power. It's a living history, a river that carries the memories of those who came before, shaping those who are yet to come. In the end, uncovering this lost Jedi legacy isn't just about retconning the past, it's about expanding the possibilities of the galaxy. Imagine the stories we haven't told yet, the characters we haven't met, the secrets we haven't uncovered. The ancient Jedi may be gone, but their influence lingers, hidden in plain sight, waiting for the curious, the brave, the daring storytellers to reveal them. And maybe, just maybe, the next great Star Wars tale won't just be about the heroes we know, but the ones we're only just beginning to discover.